Hey everyone. So recently I've had some people ask some questions and they're frequently asked, so I thought I would answer some of those today. Aha. All right. So let's see. Where do I want to start? So one of the questions was, what was the light bulb moment where you knew you wanted to do photo and video professionally? So I graduated college and was looking for a job in photography. Video is a very small part of my degree, so I only took like 2 or 3 classes out of the 4 years of video. So photo is what I was always wanting to do, and I just got to the point where I was emailing market agencies and just businesses that might need a photographer. And one of the agencies came back and said, we don't need a photographer, but we do need a videographer. Can you do video? So at that point, I just wanted to get into my field. I wanted to be able to use my degree and do something that was worth my time in college. So I went out, created a little video, like a 30-second clip video of my Jeep Renegade, and kind of made a fun edit out of it and sent it back to him and said, I don't do a lot of video, but this is what I can do. I'm willing to learn. So they came back with some feedback. I went out, did what I was supposed to on the changes that they suggested, and they saw that that was a great trait to have, that I was willing to go out and change and make those changes and learn within this field so quickly, literally the next day. So they offered me a job. So I jumped into video there. Beforehand, I was doing very little second shooting at weddings, did a little bit of second shooting in video, but mostly it was photo. And before all this, I was shooting sports at local high schools in my area, with the occasional college game at Pitt State. And so I did that for about 2 years at the marketing agency, doing commercials, podcast, video podcasting, and just editing commercials for other businesses and whatnot. So as I had mentioned, I was shooting sports. I was shooting a bunch of sports, shooting it for the local newspaper. So freelancing here and there as much as I could. Sports was my passion. I loved being able to capture those moments for those athletes, those historical moments they might not remember later on in life, or things that they can look back on. I just loved sports growing up, so being able to do the photo side of it was a nice way of kind of staying in the mix of sports. And so this comes down to another question I was just asked the other day, is how did I get in with the college? So if you don't know, I am currently working as a freelancer for Pittsburgh State University here in Pittsburgh, Kansas. So that kind of all started when I was a student. I would go out and occasionally I would be granted a pass to go shoot football or baseball, whatever it may be, and I would go shoot it because I wanted to do sports photography. So I just kept at it for a few years, and then they got rid of their full-time photographer and wanted to go just freelance, using freelancers. It was kind of part of the budget cuts a few years ago, and then they had a freelancer they were using. He was a student, but when he graduated, he did what I did, wanted to find a job in the field, so he went off to do a full-time job somewhere else. And so that's where it opened up for me, and they asked me if I wanted to come on as their main freelancer. So it works out for me because I work a full-time job already as a videographer at a education company. And so being able to freelance for them was easy because I still had that consistent paycheck at my full-time salary paying job. And I'm able to get off for almost all of the sports. I'm able to get off around 5. And then earlier on Fridays to be able to capture any of their evening sporting events. So with that, I've just put in a couple years now with working with them, And somebody also asked the fees. I won't go into specifics, but the pricing is per game. So I'm given a lump sum for each game, and then I get paid out like once a month. So it's a nice extra paycheck, but I don't do it for the money. I love the college. I've grown up in a household full of gorillas. And so being able to capture the sport photos that they're going to use for years to come on banners or posters or brochures, whatever it may be, I'm in that mix of the photo pool, since I am their main freelance photographer at this point. So I just love what I do, and sports is one of my biggest passions when it comes to the work of photo and video. So that's how that Pitt State job came about. I was just in the right place at the right time, I guess you could say, and I knew the right people. And that is pretty much how it is in the photo world. It's about who you know, it's about the connections that you make, it's about how you present yourself and how you present your work, and that you are out there with your work on social media, showing what you can do. So let's see, another question, pretty simple. First camera. So first film camera was the Yashica Lynx 14. It's a 35mm film rangefinder camera that I bought at a flea market back home in Neodesha, Kansas, southeast Kansas, hour west of Pittsburgh, on Highway 400. Now for my first digital camera, where I really started taking it serious, it was a Canon Rebel T5. I bought it at Walmart with my first credit card as I was still a student, and I just knew that I wanted to be a photographer, so I knew I had to get a camera and get started. So I went and bought that, and then that shortly lived in my hands as I quickly upgraded to the Nikon D3S, which at the time was a very solid, it's probably still a very solid sports photography camera, as it shoots very fast frames per second. I don't remember the number now, but I think it might be 12, which in some cameras, that's still the fastest burst that you're gonna get in some cameras today, unless you're going mirrorless. So, do you shoot RAW or JPEG? I shoot all in RAW. I don't think I've ever shot in JPEG. I just love the workflow of RAW. It's not as hard as people like to make it out to be. It's very easy to do. I use Adobe Lightroom. You can just drop the photo in, you edit it, and you're good. It allows you more dynamic range. You're able to bring highlights back or shadows back that might be blown out slightly or just a little too bright or a little too dark, whatever it might be. You have that stretch in the file to bring the image back. Another question, let's see, favorite focal length. So I probably would have said a couple years ago 35mm, but for the most part I think my favorite would be 85. I have an 85 1.8 and I love that lens. I use it for basketball over the 70-200, mostly for the extra stop of light. But when it comes to the depth of field and everything that you get from an 85, it's just really, really good. The lens is super sharp, it's super fast, and it's not that big of a lens compared to the L series Canon lenses that they have in 85. And a 1.8 is very, very good. It's very fast. I just love the lens. I love the focal length that it gives compared to, like, this is my 24. This would be my second go-to. 24 is super wide, but it comes in handy when you really need it, when you're capturing big groups or you want to get those dynamic dugout shots or huddle shots. The 24 comes in really, really handy as well in sports and in just everyday shooting. So I would say 85, seconded by the 24mm. All right, let's see. What's in my current bag? So digitally, my current bag is 2 Canon R6s when needed. The 24mm f1.4 that's on the camera right now, the 85 f1.8, a 300 2.8. It's the first generation of that lens, so no image stabilization, but it works great. It's super fast, awesome for baseball and football and volleyball, and nature and landscape. So, and then I also have a 70-200 because you never know when the 300 will be too much and the 85 is not enough. So a 70-200 f2.8 is always nice to have around. Now for film, I have a Nikon f4. I have a 20mm f2.8, an 85 1.8, and a 45 1.8 pancake. For that body, a Nikon EM. Can use all those three lenses as well. Then I have a Pentax 645. I have a 200 f1.4, a 200 f4, and then I have a wide lens for it. That is a, let's see, this is the 45 f2.8. This is my go-to when I'm shooting with the Pentax. But occasionally the 200 is a nice little extra reach in case you're trying to shoot something, get a little separation from the background. The 200 comes in pretty clutch. All right, so some additional stuff I have in my bag would be the DJI Mavic Mini, which is currently going to be sent off because I wrecked it last week and it's broke. But I like to take that when I'm going out and just shooting or going on a hike. I also have a Canon 1.4 teleconverter or extender. I use that occasionally on the 300 and occasionally on the 2.8, the 70-200 2.8. Occasionally you need that extra reach in sports, and so putting it on the 300 will make it an f4. Put it on the 70-200 will also make it an f4. So you do lose that extra stop of light. But if you're shooting something in the daylight, going to f4 is no big deal. Typically I would try to shoot at 5.6 with it on there because it does soften the image. It's not really ideal to use one, but you sometimes just have to use one. So I think that's pretty much it for my bag. I have a couple point shoot cameras that I'll occasionally use, and I think that's about it. And then I use Comica mics for my audio, like this one up here, and then I have another one that is a older model of the same Pro Comica mic. All right, so let's see. Someone asked thoughts on the recent film price spike. Well, it's sad, but it's not really a shocker that it would go up with the popularity going up. The demand is going up. So with the shortage of film, they're going to raise the prices. More people are shooting film these days. You got celebrities carrying film cameras on the red carpet or using them in music videos or posting them on their Instagrams. And film is, or at least faking that they have taken film photos, is kind of the thing right now for the, I'll just blame it on the LA community, the celebrities, influencers, whatever you want to call it. They're carrying their film cameras around. People are seeing them. They're wanting them. So then the prices go up on those cameras that used to be under $100, now 500, 1,000, whatever it may be. I don't really care. I just love shooting film. I love getting the unique characteristics out of film and not faking it through digital. If I wanted to shoot digital to make it look like that, then I would just use some presets. But why not just get it straight out of camera with some film and kind of go back to the roots of photography occasionally. Carry a film camera instead of a digital camera. You know, think about your images more. I find myself, before I was shooting film, I would just take photos, just random stuff on my digital, and like most of the time they just make it in the trash because they weren't good photos. So for me, film was slowing down, thinking more through my images and really thinking about the shot before I took it and didn't just snap it to snap it. It's helped me grow in my digital work, even in video. And when I shoot sports, I shoot on digital, obviously. So just having that different workflow in film is just been beneficial for my work. So the prices do suck. Occasionally you have to slow down and not shoot as much film from here and there, because you're buying the film, then you got to send it off and get it developed. If you don't do it yourself, you're paying for scans, whatever it may be. So there is a lot more price into it, but for me, it's been a great building experience. It's helped me grow within my work. So you got to invest in yourself, and that's one way I invest in myself, is shooting film on the occasion, because I shoot so much digital with sports and at work, at my full-time job, and weddings, that occasionally shooting some film is like very therapeutic, I guess you could say it is. So, you know, it's a bummer that the prices have to go up, but it's just part of it. Things go up, gas goes up, it just kind of happens. So yeah, that's my thought on that. So, let's see. What do you edit your photos and video with? So I said earlier, I edit with Adobe Lightroom. I use Classic, not the CC. It's just what I've always used. They update it. It gets the changes that CC gets. There might be some stuff that might be a little different, but I like the menu system in Classic, and it's just what I'm used to, so that's what I use. For editing, Premiere Pro, it's my go-to. It's what I always want to use. It's the one that I've used for almost 5 years now. So I'm comfortable with it. I know it. I know all the shortcuts. I don't need to go into the menus to find something. I know exactly where everything's at. I've got it all set up, and it's my liking. At work, I dive into DaVinci Resolve occasionally, but that's because it's, I guess you could say, forced on me. I have to use it. It's what we use at work. So it's what I use at work and not what I use at home. So for what you see on here, on my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my Twitter, anytime I post a video that's my own, it's Premiere Pro. Well, I think that's it for now. If you have any more questions that I did not cover, or if I missed one that you had sent me on the IG story or anywhere else, leave them in the comments below. I'll do a part 2, or I'll just answer it down below in the comments on your question. With that said, I appreciate you watching, sitting around, hanging out, being a subscriber, being a new viewer, whatever it may be. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time.